Back in August, I was on retreat up at St. Anselm's Abbey in Goffstown, which is right outside of Manchester. And over the days as I was praying, trying to discern sort of what message was the Lord trying to share with me in that week, it was one question or statement, I'm not exactly sure how I would put it, that came to me. And that has resonated with me since that time. And it's a question I keep asking myself. What is your potential? Now, a lot of times when we hear that, our immediate thought may be, the potential for doing great things, the potential for, becoming something within myself. I mean, that's what we hear when we listen to these self-help gurus. It's always finding your potential that's within you in some way. I mean, they'll use other terms, but that's really, it kind of all boils down to that sense of potential. But that's not what God was getting at for me. Nor, when God asked that question for any human being, is that what it's about. No, God was asking me to look at my potential for serving Him, for being His instrument in every moment of my life. Every time I interact with another person or I'm just sitting with the Lord, there's a potential to be His instrument in that moment, to allow God to use me, that God can be seen through what's happening. I have the potential to be God's presence. Just think about that. You have the potential every day, every moment of the day, to be God's potential. The potential to be God's presence in that moment. And what's even more fascinating is what that means. So often we in our lives think about how we're called to put our faith in God, how we're called to trust the Lord, and that our life is about trying to grow in that faith and in that trust. And that's true. But what has come to me recently isn't simply that I place my faith in God, but God has placed His faith in me. And I don't just mean me, I mean this is for every Christian. God has placed His faith in you. God has chosen to trust you, to be His instrument. Now, does God need to do that? No, because God is God. God could accomplish whatever God wants to do without us, because He's God. But the power of the incarnation, that Jesus became one with us, that in the person of Jesus, who was fully divine and fully human at the same time, in that incarnation, God taught us a lesson. He wants us to be part of salvation. It's not that He simply comes to save me personally, but He wants me to be part of how salvation will break forth into the world. That others will come to know Christ through me. That they will come to know their salvation because of the way I am choosing to live my life. That's amazing. It should humble us that God has chosen to place His faith in you personally. You are part of God's saving history. And He wants you to be part of His saving history. But we have to be open to that. We have to recognize the truth. Again, it's not just that I am placing my faith in God, but God is placing his faith and his trust in me. That I will allow him to use me as his instrument. That I will be open, that I will humble myself, that I will make the sacrifices necessary, that I will choose to live a life of obedience, that I will choose to open truly to the cross of Christ and allow that to be what my life is about. Because that's what it means to take up the cross. It's a life of humility, a life of self-deprecation, a life of obedience, a life of opening to that one question. What is your will for me? We all have the potential. God will give us the grace to accomplish whatever he is calling us to accomplish. God has placed his faith in you today, in this moment, at this time. He is placing his trust in you to be that instrument that he's calling you to be. The only question is, are you open to all of the varied potential of being that instrument that God calls you to be? God bless.